Hello everyone, I hope you are all doing fine and healthy in this pandemic process. Today I will mention the displacement in Jean Rice White Sargasso Sea. Displacement is a broad subject and so I narrowed my focus on two main characters in White Sargasso Sea about displacement. And today, firstly, I will mention what displacement is and then I will focus on main protagonist Antonie and Antonie's husband and their experiences about displacement. Okay, let's start with what displacement is. And in its most literal sense, displacement refers to the act of moving or being put out of the usual or original place. Migration, desertion, exile, diaspora, banishment are all different forms of displacement. And displacement frequently forces subjects to confront a sense of loss, alienation, and disorientation, but it may also lead displaced subjects to experiment a taste of newly gained power and freedom. In any case, the displaced undergo a process of transformation and renewal that involves a refashioning of identity. Okay, and our main protagonist, Antonie, seems to suffer displacement most. There are three places in Jamaica where Antonie feels she belongs to. She is happy to live in these three places on the screen: Calibri, Convent, and Windward Island. The first one is Calibri, Antonie's birthplace, where she feels safe. And she says the golden ferns and the silver ferns, the orchids, the ginger lilies and the roses, the rocking chairs and the blue sofa, and the picture of the miller's daughter. And they are all symbolize good life and peace, which can be found only at Calibri. Later, Antonia was sent to a convent. Staying at the convent, Antonia got taken care of by the nuns, who made her feel warm as she never felt before. Whenever she has a nightmare, the nuns always comfort her by saying, "The dream is evil. Put it from your mind. Never think of it again." And she rubbed my cold hands to warm them. And the last place of warmth to her is her honeymoon house located on the Windward Island. And she says to Christophine about this place, "This is my place, and this is where I belong, and this is where I wish to stay." Unfortunately, she was forced to leave these beloved three places. Calibri was set on fire by the slaves, the arranged marriage forced her to leave the convent, and Mr. Rochester's unfaithful behavior leads her to madness, causing her to leave Jamaica for England. Then the displacement starts from her arrival at Thornfield Hall in England, where she doesn't fit herself into it at all. Antonia suffers a lot from being displaced and is willing to go back to where she loves. This displacement affects her badly, and she begins to lose her identity and go mad. And she says in the Thornfield Hall, "Why I have been brought here, for what reason?" And this reflects Antoniette's displacement and feels of displacement. And the important point in the novel is the dream of Antonia after she goes mad, and you can remember it from the novel, and it was the dream of Antonia. She says, "I heard the parrot call as he did when he saw a stranger, Ki Isla, Ki Isla, and the man who hated me was calling to Bertha, Bertha. The wind caught my hair and it streamed out like wings. It might bear me up. I thought, if I jumped to those hard stones, but when I looked over the edge, I saw the pool at Calibri. Tia was there. She beckoned to me, and when I hesitated, she laughed. I heard her say, 'You frightened?' And I heard the man's voice, 'Bertha, Bertha.' All this I saw and heard in a fraction of a second, and the sky so red. Someone screamed, and I thought, why did I scream? I called Tia and jumped and walked, and we can see strong traces of displacement in this telling the Antoniette's dream, and um, her husband saying Berta, the man is representing Antoniette, placing her there, not here, in the symbolic ethic of madness, where he can retain control. And also, the dream, the parrot's refrain suggests that it takes Antoniette for a stranger because he asks ki istla, but there is no answer. So Parrot accepts Antoniette as a stranger, not the real Antoniette before. And the recognizable Antoniette is not there for the parrot. And also, Tia represents, and you can remember Tia from the novel. They were playing at the pool, and Tia represents a displacement to an other constitute not by gender but by race. Wearing Tia's dress, Antonia is just a white nigger now, and black nigger better than white nigger. And this verse suggests that Antonia cannot use race as a means of gaining the privileged position. And again, Antonia is displaced in terms of racial, so-called racial superiority. And also, many studies and writings about this novel focus on Antoniette's displacement. However, Antoniette's husband felt like a stranger in his wife's country and threatened in a foreign land. And this can be seen in what Mr. Rochester says on the screen. Everything is too much blue, too much green. Dear father, I will never be a disgrace to you or to my dear brother, the son you love. No begging letters, no mean requests. And this can here we can see his feel of displacement, and it displays an evidence of his feelings of discomfort. A person experiencing a sense of not belonging characterizes the concept of displacement, and family obligations can compel a person to make certain life-changing decisions, just as the Mr. Rochester did. And leaving the comforts of home and the familiarity of a daily routine life often leads to a feeling of displacement. And in the case of Mr. Rochester, he had to travel abroad to the Caribbean. His decision hinged on his yearning for his father's love and respect, as well as his dignity, and to prove that he was a man capable of doing well on his own. And his circumstances would have led him to feel displaced and thus affect his behavior towards the people around him. And we can see his behaviors towards Antonia, and he always keeps saying Berta, Berta, and he says, because it's a name I am particularly fond of, I think of you as Berta. And um, he changes Antoniette's name from a French name into a English one in order to feel more in tune with his British roots. And this was the subtle beginning of female oppression. And also he says, I hated the sunsets of whatever color. I hated its beauty and its magic and the secret I would never know. Above all, I hated her, for she belonged to the magic and the loveliness. And also it shows that he felt scared and uneasy. Not only that Antonia belonged to her natural surroundings, but that they complemented her. Antonia's husband, in security and feeling of abandonment, led him to experience a paranoia, and we can see his paranoia from this sentence from the novel. But it seemed to me that everything around me was hostile. The telescope drew away and said, "Don't touch me." The trees were threatening, and the shadows of the trees moving slowly over the floor menaced me. That green menace. And he felt an animosity towards everything around him, and his power as a white colonizer was negated since Emancipation Act that stripped the whites of their authority and rights over the natives and the environment. And Antonia's husband had started to express feelings of seclusion and lack of belonging when he was in Caribbean. And he says, I had felt it ever since I saw this place. There was nothing I knew, nothing to comfort me, he says, in his wife's hometown in Grumboy. And considering both Antonia's journey to going mad and losing her identity, and Mr. Rochester feeling discomfort, uh, fear, and alienation in an unfamiliar place, displacement is not a situation that is not only experienced by the other, and the self can experience it too. It's not a situation to be accessed easily, and has a great effect on personality and psychology. And thank you for listening to me, and you can add your questions in the comments button, and see you later in the lesson.